completely revamp that whole intersection. Because unfortunately, as we all know, that when they did that initially, they didn't think far enough ahead. And so this is going to solve that problem. So it is still working towards it. We did talk about the delineators being, constantly replaced and being struck. But we also talked about that since we've done that, there has not been one fatality collision there. There has not been one major injury collision there. And that includes pedestrians, which if you guys recall, pedestrians were being struck there left and right. So although it's still annoying, although we don't like the delineators and people still hit them and we got to replace them, the poor guys that work for Caltrans are constantly replacing them. It's doing its job temporarily. It's still doing its job until the big project is over. Now, if you would like, I can have Caltrans come back in here and tell you how far along they are, but I do know for a fact they're years out. So we're still going to have to deal with it for a couple more years.
In 3 minutes with you, John, I've learned a lot more than I've been able to get the last 6 months.
I'm surprised, but I'm sorry you had to do that. I've been dealing with the head up there from Caltrans, and she assured me, because we have 2 projects. Yeah, no, we have 2 projects that have been near and dear to me, and I'm getting ready to retire in January. So 2 projects have been very dear to me. That is one of them. So I've been constantly bugging them on that. And then I have another project in Mojave I've been working on. So I'm constantly pushing them. And they said they're going to actually probably name one of them after me because I'm so involved with it. But yeah, so no, there's absolutely progress happening. It's absolutely going to be redone. There's going to be some issues, some land that unfortunately they're going to have to take some land back a little bit. That's an issue that they're dealing with, but they're legal, and there's some things that they're doing, and that's why it's taking a little while. Plus the money the money that they're using to do this with, like I said, is out several phases out.
Okay.
So it's definitely going to happen, just not before I retire.
Okay. Be sure to brief your relief on that.
Absolutely. And I'm just happy that the crashes, I mean, yes, we keep having the fender benders there, but I haven't had one pedestrian struck there in the last 2 years. And we haven't had a fatality there since we put those up. And that's our job. If we break a couple cars, it's a lot better than losing a human life. So, good idea.
Anyone else have any questions for John?
I'd just like to thank John for getting that eyesore RV off of Rosamond Boulevard and by the Arco. We've been working on that for a long time, so appreciate that. And so did the Rosamond resident people, they like to see it. So.
Did you get a new motorhome, John?
Yeah, no. No, I just helped get rid of an eyesore that was there. So it was a little bit of work, but we got rid of it. So.
And Public Works took the trash out. They also cleaned up the trash afterwards. So kudos to both of them. Just keep writing those folks; they'll get it done.
Well, I want to say thank you to John because I travel Sierra Highway a lot, but I only go south. I never go north because of the people who are driving like it's the Indianapolis 500 out there. But it's better.
Thank you.
And I make that trip a lot. It's better, so thank you.
Thank you.
When he retires, we're going to have to get all the things John done, get a big poster. Thank you.
I don't think there's enough wall space in here.
You guys are killing me. Thank you.
Okay, California Assembly representative. We have a representative here from Tom Lackey's office.
Why, thank you. Good evening. My name is Carlo Basail. I'm the new field rep for Assemblyman Tom Lackey. He's off and out here in Rosemont and in Edwards Air Force Base, and he sent me out here just to check out and say, hey, you got to see these guys. We got a great town council. So here I am. There's not much to report legislatively, but they're in session, and you never know what happens between now and September 10th. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Carl, did you get any voicemail with your actual email?
Yes.
I got one the other day, but I tried to email you and
Yeah, I got it.
all right, I'll grab it.
I'll grab you after the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, Kern County Supervisor Representative Laura, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's so good to see everybody again. It's so much easier to do these meetings in person instead of looking at a computer screen, right? So Hopefully we'll have some more attendance as time goes on and word gets out that we're meeting in person at Hummel Hall again. So I have a couple things for this group tonight. I want to let everybody in the community know I did receive a direct complaint to my email regarding the property on Locust and Diamond. Yes, Lisa Checkley called me and emailed me about it and sent me a bunch of pictures, and Francis did the same. So I want everybody to know, and I need to correct myself with you, Jack, because I think I said 30 days earlier. That actually a 14-day notice has gone out to the property owner to clean up and abate the property. If they do not perform or start to make some progress in those 14 days, the code compliance officers will start collecting bids from contractors and hire a contractor to clean and abate that property. So we will see some progress on that property. I have it calendared. I will be personally following up with that. And I just want to encourage everybody. My contact information is very public. I want to be here for this community. So if you see something like that, email it to me. Email me an address, email me an APN number. A couple of photos are always a bonus, but I'm in the area enough that I'll go take my own photos. And I prepare a little report and I turn it into the code compliance officers, and I go straight to the department head, and he, disseminates the information from there. So I can't encourage everybody enough to please contact me. Supervisor Scrivener's district is big. I can't patrol all the streets all the time myself, so I don't necessarily see what needs to be handled. So please bring it to my attention.
Laura, I have a question. Mine's a bigger question.
Okay.
I have been reporting on this building for 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And I have called code enforcement.
Mhm.
I want an investigation why this building has been allowed to be like that for all this time and all the stuff that's happened. That was once a viable building, is no longer viable. It's an eyesore to community, it's a health hazard, and it's a safety issue.
Yes.
Why it has been allowed to go like that as long as it has, I do not understand.
And I don't have the answer to that, Francis.
And so
I don't work in the department. I don't supervise that department. I can't speak for things that occurred prior to my knowledge.
Well,
So I have it under my umbrella now, and we're moving forward to rectify the situation.
That's why I've written to your office, because something needs to be done to get code enforcement to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and the department head was CC'd on all of those emails, so they're aware that you went through that.
I'm just fed up. I'm
I'm very
fed up.
sorry that you
It
went
never
through that,
happened.
but I can't speak to that. I don't run that department. So, but I can't encourage anybody enough. Please, email me direct, okay? So if anybody doesn't have my email, I have cards with me tonight. I'm happy to give them out at the end of the meeting.
So I would like to see a follow-on and ask if code enforcement personnel to come down here and explain it to us then.
Sure.
Okay.
We could probably
So
schedule
we can get
this
him in as a
when
guest speaker?
when RMAC has an open meeting slot, an open speaker spot, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to touch a little bit on solar, but I know I'm not going to speak directly to a project. I know RMAC has an update tonight regarding your local project here, so I'm not going to touch on that. I'm going to talk about solar in general, okay? So Supervisor Scrivener is working very directly, and the board as a whole voted unanimously, and they have been sending letters and lobbying with the governor's office. And it's solar in general. So way back many, many years ago, when alternative energy was new and up and coming, the state mandated an incentive. They wanted to attract these companies to the state of California. And to do that, they put in a resolution that basically stated that they will never reassess property that is purchased and developed as a solar farm. So how that is affected, so what's happening is you have large parcels. And sometimes they were prior landlocked parcels, okay, with no infrastructure, no utilities, nothing. So these parcels were worth a very small amount of money, right? So they were being assessed at that value. And then the solar companies would come in and they would develop everything, right? Now that land is worth more because they cut roads in, they brought utilities in, all this stuff. The county cannot reassess those like they would a commercial building or a residential home site or anything like that. That resolution was set to expire in 2014 and the governor automatically renewed it. It is set to expire again in 2024. So the Board of Supervisors are very actively communicating with the governor's office and saying, please, please do not renew this. It is estimated that approximately $14 million a year is lost out of the county budget because these properties are not being reassessed. That's money that could go to more deputies, libraries, animal services, fire, you name it, right? That's a lot of money per year that the county could really use right now, right? So that's one thing I just wanted to touch on broadly. I know you guys will be updating the project over here a bit, so. And the last thing I want to touch on today is you probably saw some headlines that Kern County is suing the state of California, is suing the governor's office, and it's for his fracking policies. Kern County, and so I struggle with this a little bit because I'm his East Kern representative. A lot of times I hear, well, all the oil, that's all way over there. Why do we care? Well, because it dramatically impacts the livelihood and the money that comes into this county. Oil is one of the largest employers in this county, believe it or not, and the largest income producer for the county, right? We also drill the cleanest of any country. And for the governor to say, you can mandate these fracking laws and could potentially attack our oil industry and do away with our oil industry would have a tremendous impact on this county as a whole. And why would you go to another country that has very lacking human rights laws, lacking environmental laws, put it on a ship that idles off the coast of our ocean, polluting it? Why would you give all the oil business to somebody like that and not keep it at home where we drill and the cleanest oil on the planet? So that's why they are suing the governor for his fracking policies. So we'll see where that goes and I'll keep you updated, but that's brand new. That was just approved a couple weeks ago. So any other questions for me? Any input, feedback?
I have a question.
Somebody put fracking rust, right?
What is the county of Kern doing for the placement, I guess, of our homeless? Since we have so many here in Rosamond now.
Yeah, and that's kind of a law that I would toss that maybe to law enforcement. I know that there's been a lot of new housing shelters and things like that developed. It's not easy. It's sort of one of those things that you take 5 steps forward and 4 steps backwards. So it is a challenge. I don't have a direct answer for that right now, Donna. Next month, if you'd like me to touch on and do a report on the homeless, I'm happy to. I could even maybe bring somebody in from Human Services to talk to you guys.
Well, I'd also like to ask about the ones that are mentally unstable, for lack of proper phrasing. I don't know what else to call it. So what are we doing? I mean, we have people walking up to just people on the street and they scream in their face and
yeah, so Kern County Health Department, they are working on that. They understand, especially there's been a huge rise in that since COVID, huge rise. And we also work very closely with Adventist Health Tehachapi Valley, which runs the Tehachapi Hospital. They are the ones that worked with us to get the mobile vaccine clinics out to Boron and Rosamond and everything when we did that. Thank you to Rmac and the Chamber, by the way, for taking care of those healthcare workers during that time. It was incredible that you stepped up the way you did. They were very appreciative. But Adventist Health Tehachapi Valley is in the beginning stages of naming locations to get healthcare workers to meet one-on-one with people who need, some guidance and some mental health counseling. It's a balancing act. A lot of those people don't feel comfortable going to a hospital or a healthcare clinic, whether it be fear or embarrassment or whatever it is that it kind of prevents them. So Adventist Health Tehachapi Valley is naming and researching kind of neutral locations, if you will, common ground locations that, and they're working with the county very closely because a lot of those locations will probably be buildings such as this or county-owned buildings that are kind of low-key and where they would feel more comfortable is the hope. And then the studies that Adventist Health has done indicates that will be the case, that hopefully they will get some one-on-one treatment, which would be great.
So what do our officers, I still have to stay on this for a minute, sorry. What do the officers do in these instances here in Rosamond?
I know we have current behavioral health that has developed some teams for us to reach out to, and basically what we can do is we reach out to them, give them the information, but and we'll approach them with them, or they will come out by themselves. But if they don't have compliance, then it's what we've found is they've been trying this for years. They've had people a lot smarter than me trying to figure this out for years, and there's no easy solution to that. But I know Current Behavioral Health has actually come up with some teams and give us some resources, some contact info for us to give them basically leads to start cases on these people, and they do the follow-up with it. We're aware, we see it. There's no easy solution to it. Sometimes we do arrest them occasionally. They're out within hours. The long-term solution, I think, is behavioral health, and for them to get them on their meds. But if they're not going to voluntarily do that, we can't force them to do that either. So, I know where you're at with it.
I think the key is getting drug prevention first, before or after the pot shops. I'm saying drug, like narcotics, like heavy drugs, like meth, heroin, cocaine. Like getting a drug prevention program first, counselors maybe, to come in with mental health, because it goes hand in hand. And the sooner the medical field and everyone agrees on that, it'd go quicker.
Yeah.
It does go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So we have to.
And
you have to
I
tackle
think it would be excellent. I mean, we're kind of adding a big list of guest speakers here, which is great. But to have somebody from Adventist Health and Behavioral Health Services come in, I am not a healthcare professional. I don't know exactly how to answer that for you, Donna, because I'm not a health professional. I don't know what the correct treatment would be. But I do know that the county is working very closely with healthcare professionals to try to get assistance to communities.
Thank you, Laura.
You're
I'll be in
welcome.
contact with you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Rosamond Community Services District, I don't see any here down. Rosamond Chamber of Commerce, Jackie, you have the floor.
Don't have a lot to report. Just as a note, yesterday the chamber hosted the ribbon cutting and grand opening at the grocery outlet. It was a real nice turnout and a real nice event. And it was good practice for Gene having to officiate. So something a lot of people don't like to do, but it's good for them. The only other thing I'm going to mention is September 25th is our Armed Forces Day Parade. Just before I came here, we had a board meeting at the chamber, getting all that together. I did put out the sign-up form for the parade on social media, and so if you don't see it, let me know. We posted it on the website tonight, actually. I did create a different version of it. But that is going to happen September September 25th at 10 a.m. start. And we'll probably have some few concessions along the way as well, so people can get something to eat and so forth. I think that's about all I got. Anybody have any questions?
Are you aware that the Tehachapi Grand Fondo is going on at that exact same time?
You know, it seems like every year we plan, no matter what date we plan, somebody else does something the exact same day.
I just think it.
Every single year.
And NASCAR's that day in Vegas.
At 10 a.m.?
Yeah, actually, I think 9, right?
They open the gates at 10.
8. Gates open at 8. We'll be there at 7.
We did, I know we did have that in, they kind of acted like they didn't know what to do right with that. Maybe it didn't get to you guys, I don't know.
Your permit has already been approved, you've submitted it to county permits.
We submitted to Mojave Sheriff's, which is what we were instructed to do.
But you have the permit already? The permit's been approved?
No, we submitted it.
Okay. The sheriff's office has not approved the permits, that goes to county permits, so I'll check on it and get it.
Well, when I talked to Anton, he said, turn it in at Mojave Station.
He means we'll route it to the correct place.
Right.
But I'll make sure it gets there.
All right, appreciate that.
So my only thing is that we just have to keep trucking, and we can't stop. We have to keep going. I know it gets frustrating. I turned circles with Laura Lynn for 6 months over the swimming pool. And when I say turn circles, to the point where I wanted to cry, and I'm not an emotional person. So I was like, whoa. But it's time that we start moving forward, that we do send those emails. We do stay on top of everything. We don't let no room for error. I'm a firm believer in that. You stay on top of it and keep going hard and give no room for error, you're going to get results. So we are starting to see a little bit of results within the community. We do have the pool. That's another thing that wasn't mentioned. There is a budget. It was put into the budget for approval. A pretty large amount of money, very large amount of money that we are asking for to fix that pool. It's in the budget, and we're praying that it's approved on the 24th, which I believe that it will be. But there's lots of things, but we just need to keep coming together and keep talking to each other. And the more that we talk to each other, even as a board, the farther we're gonna go with getting things done. And we will talk about that building for you guys, because I'm a historical society member as well. Not on the board,
We
but I'm a
appreciate
member.
that. What happened to the chamber that you guys did? I'm still working on the chamber. I talk to them every time I see them.
But I am glad that we're all back in person. Sorry you're leaving.
I get to retire.
I'm glad that you're here for your first in-person meeting. First in person since elected. And I'm glad you're here with us today. And that's all I have to say.
All right, do you have anything to say then?
No.
No? How about you, Tim?
No.
I want to basically footnote Lisa's comments. I want to just say that trying to be all things to all people is very hard.
But you do it very well.
No, I am not very good at it at all. The point I want to make is that I think in some ways we've grown closer as a community because of COVID-19. And I hope we keep some of our humility about ourselves as a result of it, because things can't come along like this and knock the pegs out from under a country or a state or even a city. And some places never recover from those things. But this country has been very resilient for many, many things. The Great Depression is a good example. Those were very dark times, and this virus is nothing compared to what those folks had to deal with in those days. But we dealt with it. We're 50-50, I guess you could say. 50 of us are vaccinated, 50% of us are not. But don't beat somebody over the head about their vaccination status. Just encourage them. Just tell them if it's not for their own benefit to think of the benefit of their children and their grandchildren and great-grandchildren, because some of them can't get a vaccine. Some of them are immunized, I should say, immunocompromised, I guess is the way to pronounce that, and can't get a vaccine. So those people need a little bit of protection by the rest of us. So that's all I have. I'd like to ask someone for a motion to adjourn.
I have one more question.
Okay.
Laura, since you got the budget, is the library gonna get some more hours to be open?
Yes, so there is a budget item regarding funding, additional funding for libraries. And additional hours is what's on the table.
Okay.
I will tell you though, that staffing shortage is a very serious issue. And we still have libraries in the county that are not open at all. So I don't know how the supervisors are gonna vote on that or provide guidance to the libraries on that. I know there's libraries that want longer hours, but those libraries are open. And there's communities that have no hours. So I'm not sure how that's gonna go, but there is additional monies in the budget for libraries.
Has any return or any conversation been had about a public-private partnership on libraries?
I don't know. That could be, the library director could be doing that, and I have not been briefed on that.
That was
so I don't
something I
know.
was thinking about a couple of years ago, and I think that kind of died whenever the money got a little bit better again.
I'm sorry, you didn't hear that first part.
Public-private partnership on libraries.
Okay.
There was at one time, I think, a proposal in Kern County to do that with the libraries.
Oh, there was, I remember they couldn't talk to us up there, yeah, that was quite a few years ago.
And something I forgot to add, I'm sorry, I know you're getting late, but it's been so long since we met, things keep popping in my head. They are working on every county park being a Wi-Fi hotspot. So that's gonna take some infrastructure and some work. It's not gonna happen immediately, but that is a goal, that every single county park will be a Wi-Fi hotspot. We have a lot of rural areas, low-income areas where they don't have internet access or they can't afford internet, things like that. So that's a goal that they're working on, that I wanted to let you guys know about.
Okay.
Motion?
I made a motion already.
You did?
Yeah.
Now we just start talking.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, meeting is adjourned. That's their status there. Item C, Rosamond Mojave Rehabilitation Project. It's already been touched on earlier in the meeting. Just be careful when you're driving out there, because there are folks that don't understand that road pattern there. You can get a surprise. Just follow the speed limit so that you have a little bit more reaction time. Okay, Brown Act ethics training. Now that we're back into meetings, I'm going to try to arrange to get our Brown Act training done for the council so that we can get that out of the way, hopefully within the next month. Road repairs, upkeep, and safety, we talked about that, so we pass over that. Notice of public hearing before the Kern County Board of Supervisors, draft environmental impact report for the Raceway 2.0 solar, and the notice of preparation for the Rosamond South Solar Project 2.0. The Raceway 2.0 solar project has already cleared the hurdle of the planning portion, but is basically sitting right now with the Board of Supervisors. We talked about that a little bit in the meeting here about the tax aspect of it. And we worked on a proposed letter basically to cap off things before it goes back to the Board of Supervisors for a vote. What I would like to do is take the time to read that into the record, and then check with everyone to hear it on the council and see if we have the vote that we can take and pass this on to Supervisor Scribner. And with that, I'll go ahead and read this letter. Dear Supervisor Scribner, as we approach the next session of the Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, we wish to express our support of your effort to address the economic uncertainties brought on by the state of California relative to restrictions on the petrochemical industry and the reduced taxation levies on the solar industry. While we are not conversant with the level of impact to the county, we imagine if it significantly reduces tax collection, that it will ultimately hurt all the cities and towns of Kern. Keep pushing the good fight. We also understand that Senator Shannon Grove is very interested in this matter and its economic burden on the county. As Chairman Parkman advised the board, the Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council is concerned with the cumulative impacts to the community of Rosamond, not only now, but in the future, 20, 40, and even 60 years down the road. That is why we remain reluctant to surrender any easements and right-of-ways, especially those that are within the area of 10th Street West to 170th Street West and Avenue A to Dawn Road. This particular project falls within 70th Street West and 90th Street West. We have met with AES's representative, Mr. Dallas Pugh, and members of his team, and gained a greater appreciation of the effort that they have put in to meet the concerns of the community. They have put in considerable effort into keeping as many of our east-west right-of-ways in place. However, Holiday Avenue remains a concern for Rmac, especially with Site 5 closing off Holiday Avenue from 70th Street West to 75th Street West. As you are aware, many residents that live within the boundaries of this project and its immediate vicinity are still opposed to this development. Further, with the California high-speed rail, the drought, the adjudicated water limitations on RCSD and other water districts, we will be hard-pressed to grow our community. We know that it's the intent of the state of California to convert as much of our desert into solar and wind fields in order to meet a goal of a green California. Rmac is not anti-solar, but also we do not want the perception to continue that the board does not care about southeast Kern County. To assuage this feeling, action to return the community swimming pool to public use and the construction of a skate park for our youngest citizens is needed from the board. Further, there is a pressing need for a traffic light at 55th Street West, Mojave Tropico Road, and Rosamond Boulevard, vicinity of Tropico Middle School. This signalization was part of a letter written to the District 2 office seeking crosswalk traffic signaling at Eagle Way, Rosamond Boulevard, since completed, Gateway Apartments, Rosemont Plaza, and the aforementioned intersection at Tropico Middle School. We further seek a revision to the Willow Springs and Rosamond specific plans to more accurately reflect the growth that has occurred since those plans were created in 2008. Rmac would like to review both revisions when they approach draft status and would regard this as a tremendous favor. In closing, we ask that Kern County keep the majority of solar development west of 90th Street West, and more preferably west of 170th. This will give the community the assurance that we will have land area to grow in to become a city one day. Then the last part of this, which will depend upon the vote we have, but it says, this letter was read aloud at the Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council monthly meeting on August 19, 2021. By voice vote, the directors of the Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council voted X ayes, X nays, X abstentions to approve this letter recommending that the Board of Supervisors not proceed with the Raceway 2.0 solar project without additional adjustments and revisions. Before I ask for a nomination on this, I do want to note that we only have 4 members of our 7-member board here tonight. When we vote, we have to have a unanimous decision so that we do not have a situation where, because the other members did not have a chance to vote, that the vote is invalid. So with that, I need a nomination.
I don't believe the vote would be invalid because there aren't enough here, right? Or quorum.
We have a quorum, but if you have 7 members of it, okay.
They're absent.
it's-
That's how the
it's still-
supervisors do it. When they're absent, they're absent. They don't get a vote. I don't know.
Well, I motion, we accept the letter.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, with that, the letter will proceed forward.
What is happening with the raceway? I mean, is it, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff on it, people saying, you know, not in my backyard, that kind of thing, but is there no vote yet?
It has been, it's been through the planning phase. It basically is going for final approval with the Board of Supervisors.
It went to the Board of Supervisors and our supervisor postponed it to August 24th.
Okay,
So it's going back to the board on the 24th.
And he did receive your letter, Francis.
oh, well, that's good. Mr. Small, is that his name? He sent me whoever received mine.
Okay, new business, trash and debris in Rosamond. I think we've already discussed that. I just want to emphasize again, if you see problem areas like that, there's that website with Public Works that you can put in a report. Just be mindful, if it's on private property, it's a code compliance issue. If it's in the middle of the street, then it's a Public Works Roads Department issue.
And can I touch on that for a second, Bill?
Yes, ma'am.
If RMAC would like in the future at any point to coordinate a community cleanup day, please let me know. The county will supply trash bags, reflective vests, gloves, all of that. So if you guys ever want to coordinate something like that, loop me in and I'll make sure you have supplies.
We actually were, I was talking to someone locally and we were gonna arrange that very soon.
Okay, let me know.
It is a great idea. We have some areas that could stand a little,
Oh, there's a lot.
A lot,
And I have
yeah.
one more question. There is, on Sierra Highway, there was a group, we have a sign out there that says the Rosamond Community Watch Program is responsible for that area. It's supposed to be cleaned like, I think 3 or 4 times a
Is
year.
it the Adopt a Highway
Yes,
thing?
it's that
Okay.
Adopt a Highway thing.
Mhm.
And it hasn't been touched in quite some time. I know
I
that,
think they completely disbanded.
Yeah, is there still,
Did
I've
they
never heard of
disband?
that group.
Pardon?
did they?
I believe so.
Then can we get the sign taken down? So
Well,
maybe someone else
or-
can take it over?
Yeah, that's a state program,
Oh,
state-run
is it?
program, that is not a county-run program. Adopt a
Gotcha.
Highway is.
Yeah, there are state programs and
Yeah.
they're actually, they're like benefactors that provide the money for our state contracted crew to go and clean that. And I think it's twice a year, but I'm not quite sure.
They used to
you know.
do the graffiti abatement and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And
Yeah.
last I heard that they were
So I would like to talk to you guys about, there's a thing called National Volunteer Day. I can't remember the exact name because I haven't done it. I mean, I haven't published it in a long time, but it's the last weekend in October, and I would love to have a community cleanup.
That's what.
And the other issue is, I always, even though I didn't get any volunteers, I would do something in the community. You can actually post your stuff on this page. There's enough community support. They give out money to the community for their efforts. Now, I haven't been successful in getting the whole community on board with this. I'll have 1 or 2 people doing something, but this cleanup would be a great idea if you guys would sponsor it. So just go out to the web and look up National, I'll have to send the name to you, but it's, you can start on Friday night and you gotta be done by Saturday. So,
Kelly did reach out to me about that, and we're gonna get it. Yes.
May I suggest somebody call Waste Management? They might provide dumpsters.
So-
Because what happens when you get into these cleanup, first
She's
you
the queen
think,
of the dumpsters.
oh, well, I mean a big, a 40-footer. Well, I'm thinking
They open up the yard for
40-footer.
us.
Yeah.
They open up the yard and let us come dump it there.
Oh, really?
Yes, they
Yeah.
do. So they work well with us.
not only
Fantastic.
the one time I did, I cleaned up the desert behind my housing tract, I called the dump and said, because we were bringing in tires and all kinds of, a swimming pool liner, all kinds of stuff that was behind, people just dumped it. And they took it all without charging us.
Mhm.
So otherwise they wouldn't.
They will, they will. Yes.
Yes, all I do is talk to them. So they took all the tires back that we had in there and, all that kind of stuff, so it was really quite useful to contact them.
September 11th is our next dump day as well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to get some of the community out to them and pick up their dump.
Is this Kelly Cardin that you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay, I talked to him about this too when
Yes.
I took those pictures out there, so, anyway. It'd be nice to see everybody in the community get out and do something.
Okay, moving on, Director Training. I basically want to put all my fellow directors on notice, and that is, I want you to start getting trained in how to run a meeting. In case something happens where either the director, or I should say the chairman or the vice chairman, is not able to fill the
Oh,
functions.
just dream on, you cannot pass that on to anybody but yourself.
So anyway, I'm looking at the 3 of you especially to pick a date between now and the end of the year, and that's going to be the meeting that you're going to run. So I'm ready to copy.
Actually, I think it's a great idea because you should be bringing up mentoring people that are on your staff to do that.
I'll do September.
Okay, Lisa.
I'll take the next one. What day is it?
October.
I'll take October's meeting,
I guess it's a good time to say I won't be here anymore.
Are you resigning, Donna?
No, she's going to,
I'm moving out of state.
So you're resigning, Donna?
Right now, no. You're stuck with me.
When?
15, 30 days.
Today?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good resources online for the rules of order that you can Google, and I'll help you. I've run a couple.
we run a little bit looser than the rules normally have, but it's certainly good to know Roberts, so that when you get into the big time, you can do that right.
You're in the big time. What are you talking about?
This is it.
I was like, when do you
This is
get
You're
there?
televised, come on.
Stepping stone.
Well, the name of that program is National Make a Difference Day. That's what I finally changed my name. Check it out.
Okay, any referral items for, I'm going to go ahead and skip over the high-speed rail, we've talked about that as well. Are there any referral items for the agenda?
I have none.
Back to the question. What is there's another thing about another
that's the Raceway 2.0 solar project. And what that shows you is what was in the original Rosamond 1.0 solar project versus what is in the Raceway 2.0 solar project. And you'll notice that there's numbers on there that coincide with notes on the back side. And it tells you what they did. Those areas that are in yellow indicate items that were pulled out of the scope of work between the two EIRs in response to concerns of the community.
Is there something called Rosamond South?
Rosemont South is a facility that's right on Rosamond Boulevard, directly across the street from the Willow Springs Raceway. And it had already been approved quite some time ago. There was just some modifications that did to certain aspects of that project.
So it's already done.
Yeah, it's already been approved a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Okay, any comments from any of the directors?
Yes. So welcome back. Lovely to see everyone. It's been a long year and a half. A lot has happened this year and a half within even our ward. So we have all taken it with a grain of salt and just kept trucking along throughout the COVID. I want to say that I appreciate Laura Lynn. She's become like my go-to person for everything within this community because
Fairy godmother.
I was going to call her my little BFF. Might be the fairy godmother. Yes. So she I think talks to me more than she'd like to, but it's okay.
It's part of the job.
It's okay.
I still pick up the phone, so you're all right.
do,
No, I'm
you do.
kidding.
Even on the weekends. Even on the weekends.
Even on the weekends. Yeah.
Because that does happen. So, anyways, I just wanted to say that we are making it. Like, we are making progress. I know that everyone thinks that we're at a standstill and that our town, because I've been out there in community the last year and a half, and if you guys will see me out, I drive around this community all the time. When I'm home, I'm here. I'm on the road a lot, but when I'm home, I'm here. And I'm out in the community. I'm out talking to the homeless people. I'm out talking to the business owners and trying to figure out what we can do to change it, to get it better, to figure out something. So the community is coming together once again, where they are willing to start stepping up and doing their part. We just have to keep encouraging it and keep trucking along and keep showing them that we care about our community. And I believe that Bakersfield is doing a better job since Laura Lynn's been with us to show us that they are doing a little bit more.
Signage for Sierra Highway at Sop Road has not been put in. And it's at the old concrete plant. That is the back way to come into the landfill. You take Sop Road, go down and work your way back around and come in the back way to there. And what happens is people get lost trying to figure out where the landfill is and they just dump it on the side of the road there. Okay. Reopening of the community swimming pool. I did see something this just the past couple of weeks. There's now funding in the budget for the pool.
A little bit. Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Okay.
It is a large project, needs a tremendous amount of funding. It is not in compliance at this time. And I am working very closely with the Parks Department. Once I get concrete, no pun intended, bids, we will be trying to bring in some community partners to have some financial assistance.
Did anybody ever figure out where the money is that the people of West Park pay towards that?
So the people of West Park, they do have a small assessment on each parcel. That is not just for the pool. It's for the entire complex. And it is a fraction of what it would cost just to run the pool monthly. It was a bad plan from day one that we are now trying to rectify and clean up and streamline, is the bottom line.
And it's the first county. Right? Am I wrong? County owned pool.
No, we have county-owned pool.
Do you?
In Rose, this is the first time in Rosemont.
In Rosemont,
But,
yes.
right, for an unincorporated area, so no one
Yes.
can, right, right.
Yes.
So with the pool
And
is-
I've been doing a tremendous amount. I've learned more about pools probably in the last year than I can even share. I don't have a pool. I never had a pool. I didn't know anything about pools. And between Rosamond and Boron, I'm up to speed, and I understand a lot more about pools than I used to. And I can tell you that they are extremely, extremely expensive to run, staff, and maintain.
And can we also clarify, just for the record, John, that, and for everyone who's listening, the Boron pool is a school district pool,
Yes.
not a county pool.
Correct.
Laurelyn was nice enough to help out with it, and the county helped with it. But it was a school district issue, not a county issue. I just want to make that known to the public, because there was a lot of confusion when it came to Kern County helping Boron instead of helping us get our pool. Is the public, a school pool, not a public pool.
Yeah.
So I just
The
want
county-
to clarify that. with
Yes,
everyone.
Supervisor Scrivener made a personal donation to that project. Other than that, there is no county funding that is going into the project in Boron. I assisted the community. They came to me. They said, how do we get our pool open? I met with the superintendent of schools. I met with the community. The community did grassroots fundraising, and we brought Rio Tinto to the table to
Yeah.
match those funds.
I read that
That's
article.
how.
I read that article, it's pretty good.
Yes, yes. It was a wonderful project. We can't wait. We just drained the pool, so it's very exciting for the community, but it is not a county-owned pool.
Right.
It is owned and run by the school district. And one of the reasons that this can happen is there is funding and a promise from the school district that they currently have in their budget the ability to maintain once the rehabilitation happens. So it's you're trying to compare an apple with an egg, so to speak. It's just they're not similar at all.
And the gist of some of that too is they kept waiting and waiting, hoping somebody was gonna, the county would help or whatever, and they just said, let's just raise the money ourselves.
Well, that was actually my idea.
Yeah.
See, and I explained to the community, and it took a lot of education, and I'm sorry I'm talking about Boron in a Rosamond meeting. I don't mean to derail, but it's a learning experience, and it's a process of what we need to go through. And, many years ago, one of the community members that came to me is retired from Rio Tinto. And he remembers the day that the community could go and say, Rio Tinto, Borax, we need this, could you do, and they would write a check and do it. Those days are gone. Big corporations, I don't care if it's Coca-Cola or Rio Tinto or Lackey, if you don't have the community investment and the sweat equity, they're not going to just write you a check anymore. It just doesn't work like that. It's not their business model. We had to sell this project and show Rio Tinto the investment to Rio Tinto in Montreal, Canada. Okay? That's the government. So you're not working on a local level anymore like you used to. So the community raised $65,000 selling taco dinners, pounding the pavement. They contacted alumni from the school, alumni from Rio Tinto. I mean, they got a group of people together and they just worked their butts off, and they raised $65,000, and Rio Tinto matched it. And that's how that pool will be rehabilitated, and then the maintenance and the ongoing staffing will be under the school district's umbrella.
Well, I think it's always good to read articles on how somebody else did it,
Mhm.
because it's a footprint for others to follow. We're
Absolutely.
not getting what we need when we want it.
Absolutely.
It's
Yes, and keep in mind, because it's a government-owned entity, you have to pay prevailing wage for this project in Rosemont, which means it's at least double, sometimes triple what we think things are going to cost. And that's just the reality of it. So we're trying to rework the plans, we're trying to get bids, we're trying to get some, private funding in, some community partners, and once all of that is lined up, then I can't suggest enough to the community of Rosemont to follow Boron's model. Get a group together within your community and put in some sweat equity, do some car washes, do some funding, come to the table with an investment, and it'll bring in those other companies wanting and willing to donate to your cause. So that's the plan. It's taking a lot of time, and we're sort of cleaning up and paying for some decisions that were made way before our time at this point, and we just can't help it, but we're trying.
Because I understand one of the problems with this pool is that there's some ADA compliance.
There are some ADA compliance issues, yes.
But we need to understand ADA guidelines change annually. So even though the county's only had it for 3 years, COVID, we haven't had it opened in those years, but even from when RCSD owned it to when now, those ADA laws have changed as well again. So it's constant battle for ADA to keep up,
Okay, let's go ahead and move on then. Thank you, Bill.
No
For the
problem.
update. Rosamond Pedestrian Path. This is a project that was initiated back in 2016. Construction was originally expected to start in June of 2021. It's expected, though, that it will begin no earlier than the fourth quarter of 2021. And courtesy of Francis Thompson, we received some information that indicated the Walk Rosamond project may be delayed until 2022. And the Kern County Public Works website still carries obsolete information. Okay. Develop a community 5-year road paving repair plan. This is ID problem areas and scope of work delayed. It was delayed due to COVID-19. We've started receiving community input. Based on the suggestion that Francis had put out, there is a website that Public Works has where you can enter various problems. And I had received a call from Terry Landstill about 55th Street West here in Rosamond being bad. And I went down and I drove it, and it was more like trying to cross the Grand Canyon in a couple of spots.
There's a lot of dump sites out here too, isn't it?
Yeah, there's something down there beyond the paved area. I haven't gone down in there to take a look at
People have
You mean right in front of Trepco?
it. Yeah, on the
On the
south
other
side
side.
of the boulevard, that whole section that's paved down to, I believe it's Orange, there were gaps as much as 12 inches wide in the road surface. And following Francis' suggestion, I turned it in to Public Works, and they were out there in about a week to 10 days. And I haven't been back down to see how nice it is and whether they did each and every spot. But I do know that I saw trucks out there and guys shoveling asphalt. Okay, but I do need community input on these things because I don't have the time to drive every street in Rosamond. And I can't do anything when you say, well, 15th Street West is terrible. Why is it terrible? We need to know specifically. One of the biggest problems we have is the desert here dries out the asphalt, and that's what causes it to split. But if we get the word early enough on it, we can usually get those patches done pretty quickly by the various road crews. But when they get like 55th Street West, it turns into a bit of a production.
I do know that Public Works is very good about responding, and if they're not, I remind them. So, but I've been very happy with the response they've given, and I keep posting that, you guys just keep on it, you know. And one of the issues I found is, they cleaned up Diamond Street, those apartments, or they keep doing trash. Something can be done about those apartments, but those people are constantly just throwing out their trash. Like, I just think Kern County, the department that handles that would probably go try to figure out what's going on with those folks, buying the owners or something, because it's just
Well,
ridiculous.
if it's on private property, code compliance is the folks to call.
Yeah,
Because Public Works won't go on somebody's property to clean it up.
but they're throwing it outside that complex, you know that's what's happening.
Mhm.
People are doing it, so.
Yeah, and I know that Waste Management has a constant battle with regards to apartment complexes all over the county,
Yeah.
You know, because they utilize the central dumpster, right? And one of the biggest issues that they have is private single-family residences that maybe don't want to take the time to go to the dump, or they don't want to pay for their trash service, take advantage and add their trash to the trash that's already there for an apartment. And it is a constant battle. I've spoken, I know Ally usually comes to the meetings. I'm surprised, I hope, maybe she didn't know we were back in person, but I know that she's constantly dealing with apartments and the dumpsters overflowing and not being able to keep up with it in the alleys especially, so.
We'll get attendance for us.
Bill Carpenter,
Here.
Brendan Riley, Don Morris, I'm here, Tim Blakely, here, Lisa Sanchez,
Present.
Dennis Schaffner,
Absent, excused.
Shanice.
Absent, excused.
Okay.
Okay, with that, let's go ahead and get our flag salute. The agenda for a while, is anyone prepared to make a motion to be adopted?
I make a motion to adopt it. I'll second. Is that Lisa you?
Tim Blake.
Oh, Tim, sorry.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there are no minutes to approve because last month we did not have a quorum. There is no guest speaker tonight, so we're going to move right into community leader reports. And right out of the box, Lieutenant Kraft, you have the floor.
Good evening. Nice to finally see you all in person. First time being out here, John. I was surprised because you hadn't been here yet. Not a whole lot to report. We're still, those marijuana grows are an ongoing issue, as you guys know. We were able to get a few of them since our last meeting. Over on Patterson and 265th Street West, we had our SID investigators and deputies out there, and they were able to uproot about 380 plants over there. Also, Dinky Road and 249th Street West, that was our biggest, and that was 3,184 plants. As you guys know, it's just an ongoing issue, so I know we're just putting a dent in it, but whatever we can do to slow these guys down a little bit. We're trying. Another one, Holiday Avenue and 265th Street West. That was another pretty good sized one. 2,531 plants uprooted over there. And another little smaller one over on Gaskell Road, 408 plants. And then just recently, I don't know if you guys saw it on our the Sheriff's Office Facebook page and Instagram. We put out a press release on it, just outside of Rosamond, but it's still worth mentioning because it's close to the area, 55th Street West and Mountain View. There was a stolen Freightliner water truck, and deputies were able to locate it. And this was not our special investigation narcotics guys. These were our regular patrol Rosamond Mojave deputies that were just investigating a stolen truck, and the water truck, believe it or not, led them to a marijuana grow that these crooks were using to, water their marijuana plants. So it was I don't remember how many plants we had on that, several hundred though, and those are just regular patrol guys that stumbled upon it. So I thought it was worth the press release. We put that out. You can check that out on our Facebook. Other than that, not a whole lot more to report. We're trying to keep up with these things. We're getting the complaints in. We are receiving them. If you guys are submitting them or the community submitting them, we are getting them. We're just trying to triage and keep up with them.
Are you guys putting up drones to see what's out there?
We do have a drone team, and we use them. We usually use Air One, and we have a fixed wing plane also.
So I've been making a trip for the last 3 weeks through Lake LA, and you can see rows and rows going on. So I don't know why there's not a bus out and all. You can see the drug houses.
Yes.
They're up in the hills and down here.
Believe it or not, on our Facebook page, that post that I was just referring to on 55th Street West, the comments on there were leading us right to several other grows. So
Just make a comment on there?
you can comment on there, or you can email me also. I've got my card right here. I can give it to you.
Sure.
It's got my information on it. But email me or Sergeant Smith, and we're just continuing to triage these things. I mean, we know they're out there. We're working on them. It's the best I can say.
Well, they're pretty plain to see. I mean, even though they're far away, you can still see what's going on.
Right. You can tell the difference between a regular plant and marijuana plants. Anyone can. So yeah, they're pretty prominent.
Okay.
I don't have anything else.
Any questions for Lieutenant Crown? Do you have anything to add to that, Sergeant Smith?
Well, I was just gonna add one small thing. Last time we didn't meet, I was gonna tell you what our arrests look like, and then we had a total of 18 arrests in that time period, and it looks like the narcotics under influence cases are going down. So those are mostly crimes against person. And this time around, I compared them, and we had a total of 9, and only 1 under the influence case, and the other ones were crime against persons, but that's cutting almost in half. So we are making an impact. And Lieutenant Kraft and I today were discussing some other enforcement things we might be able to get going in the future. So if you guys, you might see us moving vehicles up and down the road, trying to do some more directed patrol in the future.
So does that mean we will have more officers here in Rosemont?
They may not be assigned to Rosemont, but they will be in Rosemont.
So when are we gonna get a few more officers for Rosemont?
Well, your guess is as good as ours. We're trying to make them as fast as we can in the academy, but they're not easy to make. It's like making a very difficult cake.
It might be worth mentioning are you guys familiar with the event going on September 11th? I forget the name of it. But anyway, it was I believe it was business owners, but they reached out to Sergeant Smith, and they were saying that it's a tribute to military and law enforcement, and they said they would give us a recruiting booth or whatever we needed, crime prevention, things like that. And we're reaching out to HR to see if we can we have a recruitment team of about 3 or 4 deputies that come out and put up their displays and everything, and have applications right there and links and everything right there on site. So maybe tell them a little bit about the sheriff's office. So turn it into a recruitment anyway. So we're still working on getting approval for that, but we're trying to get them in.
Who's sponsoring that?
I forget the name. It was a private.
It was
business owners.
A couple business owners, and I have to
Supposed to be joining.
but I thought it'd be great to have recruits directly from this area, so we can make sure these guys will live here. You know, so I thought that'd be a good idea.
If you guys know anyone, tell them to apply.
Yeah,
Trust
please.
me.
But that's all, yes, ma'am.
So, both the safety and you guys are here to share. Have you guys thought about putting up surveillance cameras that are posted by, at your office? I mean, those films can go back to each of those offices. See we have a lot of vandalism and graffiti and all kinds of stuff.
You mean
Actually, my street's a raceway. It's
You mean on your street?
Well, just around Rosemont, period.
Oh, no, that was not something you or I could approve at the moment.
But that's something I would like to bring up that, I know I volunteer at a place, we have a really good surveillance system. That was done volunteer. So I know money could be raised and cameras could be bought. We have those for you guys to track some of this stuff down, and no problem to you. It's all volunteer, or the donated funds, just to cut down on some of those items.
I think we'd be for that. I know the city of Bakersfield has had some luck with that stuff also. So yeah, especially if funds aren't an issue, we'd be all for it. feel free to reach out to me with any of that information. Like I said, I'll give you one of my cards.
You know, we do collect video evidence after every incident. If there's a crime that happens in any location, our officers scour the area and collect those, the video of that, of the incident. So we're working in that direction.
I know vandalism and it's not that big of a deal, but it's unsightly.
Right.
It just breeds more stuff that we don't want in our community. I just like to text these people
Absolutely.
and get them on film. You may have to put their faces out there and find out who's doing all this stuff.
Right.
All right.
Okay, anything else, Sergeant Smith?
No, sir.
Okay, California Highway Patrol, John, you have the
Good
floor.
evening. Hey, it's nice to be back in person again.
Yes.
You know, I can't speak for the sheriff's department. I'm not going to try to, but I want to expand because I get the same phone calls that they get about all these grows that are out here. It's not the Highway Patrol's jurisdiction, and we always help them the best that we can. But a lot of things keep coming up. But what the public doesn't really understand is, granted, they're everywhere. They're very labor intensive, and there's a lot of legal issues that have to be crossed, and there's a lot of things that has to happen just to make one arrest. That when it got 1,000 plants, and there's a lot of people going to jail, and search warrants being issued. And so although we wish we could just run in and just scoop everybody up and clerk them all to jail, and the end of the movie is over, we get to go back to our happy lives, unfortunately it doesn't work that way. And so the way I've been observing the sheriff's department, it seems like they're doing a really good job because they're grabbing the ones they have and they're making really good arrests. My understanding is they're getting at least filings on them and possibly good convictions. And so these things just take a lot of work, and although it looks really bad, they just do it one at a time. And we're helping them on a cursory level, and we are also just taking it one at a time. And that's kind of how we're doing it. It's just a little bite at a time, and hopefully we can catch up to the situation. And so the way we're helping them on a cursory level is these folks that are driving around with the water. So they have all these big water trucks, and they have these trailers with these big tanks on the back. We're impounding these things because people don't realize how much water weighs. It's very heavy. And so when you take one of these big tanks and put it on the back of a little trailer that's from Lowe's, it's literally going to drag down the road. And so we've been impounding those left and right. And so we've been addressing these folks that are making their vehicles unsafe. The back of their pickup trucks, they're overweighting them. So we've been dealing with those. And while we've been doing that, we've recovered some stolen vehicles, some stolen trailers. And so it's added into other crimes these folks are involved in. And so in a sense, we're kind of working together for the same goal. But again, we're taking it one bite at a time. And that's kind of how we're doing it. We're going to stay steady with it. We met with Edwards Air Force Base. I know Sheriff's Department personnel were there. Also, LA County was there. Some other agencies to also deal with some of the issues around Edwards with the same problems with those. And so we are trying to work on a problem that's huge. It's affecting a lot of communities. You said Lake LA. Well, although that's LA County, it's still huge and affects all of us because they're driving through here. They're on the 58. They're coming up. So it affects all of us. So we are going to meetings. We are working on operational plans. We are getting task forces involved, and we're doing what we can do about it. It's just slow and steady, and that's kind of how I see it from my point of view on it. And then if I can address one more with the video surveillance. I love it when the public has really nice cameras on their houses. It helps us with our hit and runs, with some other crimes that we have. However, the thought of a government agency putting up cameras to monitor the public, I think there's a lot of large organizations out there that would disagree with us attempting to do that. Matter of fact, there's a lot of organizations that are very large, and they're in Sacramento, that don't even like us with the license plate reader cameras that we have. They don't even like those, and all those are doing is grabbing a plate and telling us if it's a stolen or belongs to a bad guy. So there's a lot of hurdles legally, logistically, that we would have to go over to set up cameras, not just financially, but when you guys have cameras and you do it, and we love it. I know I do. Like they said, the first thing we do is canvass the area on who has cameras and how it can help us. So if the public has it, we'd love to have it. And I know I appreciate it. So staffing, I think staffing level is a global issue. The Highway Patrol, we're down about 600 positions right now, which is a lot for us. it's a lot for us. You know, we're a big agency, and normally we can absorb, you know, a couple hundred positions, but 600 is pretty bad. My own staffing level at my office is down right now. I do have September 1, 6 officers and a sergeant coming in. Excuse me, so that's gonna help me a little bit. So my staffing level is gonna be a little bit better. So hopefully you'll see us a little bit more in the community here. We've been pretty busy out here though. Our crashes are up, unfortunately. You know, people are still behaving badly. Sierra Highway has become a racetrack between Mojave and Rosemont. We are aware of it. We are addressing it. The minute we write 10 tickets, and while we're writing tickets, people are speeding past us, waving at us as we're doing it. So we're addressing it. We're working on it, and we're doing the best we can. But we're aware of it. So, but other than that, that's really all I have for you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Who takes care of the 395 from Bishop towards Mojave?
Most of it is my area, Molly.
Okay, so, excuse me? The other day I was driving that, and I was following a drunk driver all over the road. Called 911 twice, 238 miles, not one cop came. I pulled into AMPM and followed him in, just to verify that he was drunk for my own. I mean, I stayed back, I know, I'm a smart driver, but it's 238 miles, and no cop came. And I called twice, and he was very drunk. I mean, cans were falling out of his truck as he was getting out of the car. And it's just very disheartening that that's possible.
You say you called twice, as in called and then hung up? And then
No, I called and recorded it twice to tell them where we were at that point, with like an hour apart.
Okay.
Just in case, because I know that it's very short staff, and I do understand that. But that's a long stretch of road for there to be no one out there.
Yeah, and without being able to look into it, I would only guess, but we get these broadcasts all the time. In the last 15 years, we went from cell phones, from everybody having two phones. And the 911 calls that come in there's a lot of them, we get a lot of calls, and we're responding. We make sure to respond to everyone to the best of our ability. I don't know if my officers were attempting to respond and had to be out of position. I mean, if just perhaps the guys going southbound and my units happen to be just north of them, it's very difficult to get past traffic, to catch up to them, to get to them and try to intercept them. And maybe, I don't know, another unit could have been en route and
It's
could
desolate
have
out there.
arrested somebody.
I do agree,
So
it is desolate out there. There's
it's-
nothing around.
Yeah,
So I do
it's
understand.
difficult.
but
I'm
I
glad
was
you
like,
called.
That's well.
Yeah, I'm glad you called.
Yes.
I have a lot of success stories. We have a lot of success stories when people call 911 on and we catch them and we arrest them. I can pull up the data. So
Yeah,
sometimes they slip through because we can't always judge where everybody's at. And when I deploy, I do deploy units up in Ridgecrest, up in that area, and I deploy my guys down from the Mojave area out through Boron and up to 395. It's just a matter at that moment, where are they? Because if I have a hazardous material spill or a fatality or something else and they're over there, then we're not quite in position to get to it. One of the things that we do is we tell our dispatchers if we're not in position, and they will give it to the next area. So in theory, and again, I don't know the circumstances of this, it should have gone to Barstow CHP where they could have picked it up and looked for them as well. I don't know. But I'm sorry that happened to you, and it does
I'm glad
happen.
he lived and didn't know.
And it does happen. I mean, I don't know how many drunk drivers, thank goodness, make it home and don't kill anybody. But
Right.
again, we do have a lot of success stories where when you do knock down 911, we catch them. And a lot of times we have a lot of where we put it out to the sheriffs and they catch them for us. And so we are trying.
I know.
So
Your 6 new bodies will help.
it's going to help me tremendously.
Did you stop for a refill?
He did. He sure did.
Yeah, I did.
I waited
Yeah.
and watched. They did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They did. They did.
One thing I'd like to also add, John, if it would be possible maybe to spot check the areas around Rosamond Elementary School and Tropico Middle School. We have some adults that are behaving badly, setting some tremendous examples for kids. And I'm afraid a kid's gonna get killed.
Talking about their driving or?
Driving, they're cutting across lanes. they're not even paying attention to the crossing guard at the Tropico.
I've had, all last week and this week, I've had units going to the schools here in Rosemont almost every day.
They go
Gone
and
to at least
park
once.
there.
In the mornings.
They go and park there, but they're up at the front, so people see them once they're there. They're not really noticed by the parents pulling in, or any of the cars pulling in.
Yeah, because like I said, I've had them every day go to at least one school, if not two, because they all start around the same times. We can grab a couple schools at a time, but every day I've had them in Rosemont the last 2 weeks at a school at some point in time.
And the Kern County Sheriff, you guys can't help with that at all?
We can, and we do. We haven't had any specifically deployed to the schools. We put out directives to our troops as we do every year. School is starting, but be sure to spot check these areas. If we get complaints or areas on certain particular schools, we can focus in on those.
Yeah, if you could do it, because they are busy and they're very low, and I know you guys are low too, but there's more of you than there are.
Yeah, no, we work together.
That school zone speed limit is not being followed at all.
No,
Not even in the slightest. I can't even say I've seen a good day there. It's that bad.
Yeah. Sometimes their presence alone will just deter that if we can just push the area a little bit. And we'll put it on
One other
budget
thing, John, is, remember back in 2018, we were working on that intersection there in front of the new Rosamond Elementary School, as well as the ramp coming on to here. And in that meeting, we came up with the plans that we have implemented there, the delineators.
The duct tape fix, yes.
And they get knocked down on an alarming basis, but the follow-on to that was supposed to be a review by Caltrans and Kern County Roads about that bridge and Glendower and B Street. Apparently no one has knowledge of it anymore at those two organizations. And I was wondering if you might write a little letter for us, recapping what you recall of that meeting so that I can pass it on to them.
Bill, they're fully aware of it. I went to a meeting last month just about that intersection. So there is a project that they're working on. It's a couple years out, and they're going to completely revamp and redo that off-ramp. They're going to redo the off-ramp and redo the whole overcross. That whole area is going to be redone. The project's already been in the works. The funding has already been located. I met with Caltrans specifically to discuss this. It's not County Roads. County Roads is not part of it. It's Caltrans standalone. And so remember, this was a temporary fix, and then temporary, unfortunately, in our terms, could be years, maybe years, right? Temporary fix until they can get the global situation solved. The engineering has already been done. I've talked to them about it. We discussed it. The engineering's been done. The funding has been located. It's been put onto a project that's several years out.
School District, Barbara, would you like to give us an update?
Not here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait, there is an item though.
Okay.
Mario Gutierrez, trustee, was commended by Kern County Department of Education last night with a plaque for 20 years serving as a trustee on the school board.
That's good. Good man. Okay. Hamilton Valley citizens for responsible use of water. I did get a report from Randy Scott, but in my haste to get over here today, I've gotten left it on one of my other desks. So, but everyone knows the basic thrust of it, and that is we're in a drought condition, and there's no near-term prospects of any relief in that regard. So that's kind of where we stand. Edwards Air Force Base, number 3rd. Okay, anyone have any community announcements?
Well, yes, for the Kern Historical Society, we cannot meet, obviously. But I'd like to point out that we have been trying to document like histories of people in the area. We have posted on our YouTube, what do you call it? Whatever it is. Channel. We have posted an interview with John Joyce. He has a very interesting history. We've done Jed Strange, the local artist and the muralist, and he has an interesting history. And we have some of pictures of his murals. And we have also gone and, because it's Kern Antelope, we've talked to Paul Carroll up in Mojave from Carroll's Department Store, which was there for many, many, many years. Some of you may remember. And we also interviewed an artist out of Lancaster who's a delightful man, Ramon Ramirez. And it's on our website. There is a link. We're just trying to keep people interested in the area. So feel free. I mean, I'm unfortunately the interviewer, and I'm certainly not a professional. I'm very much an amateur. But we are doing the best we can to keep people interested in our area. And if any of you have any suggestions, please get a hold.
What's the name of the society or the channel?
Oh, well, I don't know. It's on our website.
You didn't say it out loud. That's why I asked.
There's our website info on this. And if you get on the website, there is a page and you can link it. And as I say, we're all volunteers and we're doing the best we can. And John, I thought our interview went pretty well.
It did. And you're not an amateur when it comes to interview because you are a retired, excellent teacher who interviewed kids for years and years and years.
I'm not sure that I interviewed, I tried to direct.
Right.
Gave up on me.
No, I didn't, Jack.
But Gretchen is not saying what really is going on with the Kern Antelope Valley Historical Society. They have the vision to have a museum, a Rosamond Museum. And they have approached the Rosamond Community Services District, which has 3 buildings sitting idle. Now, the block is the interpretation by the district's attorney. The attorney is saying the water district is a public entity, therefore it cannot give the building to the Historical Society to use. I think that interpretation needs reworking. These ladies in their households all the years paid their water bill, paid their sewer bill. That's the money that bought the 3 buildings that are idle, bought the new building. There should be something in state law, Carlo, that allows an unused community service building to be used as a museum, especially when you have all these ladies knowledgeable, willing to woman it, fill it with stuff, fill it with pictures. And I think we should push back against the district's attorney that's saying it can't be done. I think those buildings are sitting there empty. They paid for them.
I think that the old one here on the corner, right on 20th.
20th, yeah, the old, yeah.
Old Praise Inn.
That'd be perfect.
That, the vendors leased that from the RCSD, correct?
Yeah. And we have been, we tried that. That was one of the buildings that we tried to work on, and we worked on a lease, but it just didn't go. Of course, all those buildings have issues because they're older and they have some problems, and we don't have a huge fund of money. but that wasn't the main issue. The main issue was that we were told, because they are a public entity and we're just a little nonprofit, that it wasn't a go. Couldn't happen.
The church was a nonprofit as well, though. I'm confused. Okay.
Well, they're also quasi-governmental. I mean,
Right.
there's got to be some provision within the code for that.
Well, I think we should put our heads together and figure this one out.
I agree.
Because also coming up is the new museum being built at the base, which is going to attract a steady stream of people. And it would be great for the Rosamond Museum to put brochures out there, and we put brochures for them. It has to be figured out. We're smarter. We ought to be able to figure it out. Tom Lackey's attorney ought to help us figure out a better interpretation of the state law they're trying to block it. Yeah. There's find somebody that's.
I'll talk to those guys.
Yeah. Great.
John,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What, in an ideal situation, what kind of square footage are you talking?
Well,
Refill.
not, the first building that we were investigating was the one that the services district has on Diamond, and that was really a little bit small. The one on 20th Street, which itself is a historical building because it was originally out at the Turkey Ranch off of Bacchus, the old Keithley Turkey Ranch. That one was probably a little too big, but Rosamond Community Services District wanted to use part of it for displaying their historical information, and so that would have, kind of worked. We would have only really needed a part of that building. So if that kind of answers your question, as far as square footage, I honestly don't know, but the one here, yeah.
Well, I want to add to that though. I'm on the board anymore with Current Historical.
But you're a member.
I'm a member, and I would like to have that pot house that's over there next to Old Johnson's Market donated to the Current Historical.
Oh, that would be
Society.
ideal.
That's the ideal. Have this old house come renew it, and we'd have a parking lot and a beautiful veranda, and that could be used for a community center also, not only just historical. That's what I would
That's
like.
on,
Yeah.
that's on the west side of Johnson's Market?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one that was built in about the 1930s. And it was originally, in the basement was the little town library, and it was also a post office. We call it the Angel House because it was Mr. and Mrs. Angel that had the house, and they alternated being postmaster or postmistress because at that time the person was appointed by whoever the president was, and if you were a Democrat, you were appointed. And one of them was a Democrat and one of them was a Republican, so they alternated being postmaster. So the house has a lot of history. And we have tons of pictures of the house from when it was originally built, through. So that would be a great place if we could use that.
And it's a good segue because Edwards, people coming off that museum stop here, right off of Diamond, and come see this facility too, with all our history, which includes the gold mine, the raceways, and all kinds of good stuff. So, think big. I think big here. So,
Right.
the stuff we tried hasn't worked, but if that pot house wants to sell that or give it to us for nothing, hey,
I wish someone would confiscate it and give it to
there you go. So that's thrown out there, so maybe the heavens will answer.
Okay, public comment period. Does anyone else have anything?
One thing, today the High Speed Rail Authority Board accepted the final environmental impact report for the section between Bakersfield and Palmdale.
They accepted?
They accepted it. So it's a go as soon as they get the money.
They still are negotiating for the property purchases, though.
Well, Rosamond News has been carrying maps of all the parcels that are affected. And I talked to them, how do they go about it? And they assess those parcels, and then the state, by eminent domain, buys them. And there's nothing really you can do about it. You can fight it in court if you want, but there's a long, long history of projects like this being done with eminent domain. So that's where it is. That's where it is. But it's approved, so they're going to start working on it. And as they get money, they will start purchasing. Well, first they'll evaluate the parcel, and then they'll purchase the parcel.
Because the Board of Supervisors told me last month they still do not have the right-of-way nailed down yet.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that on one hand, they're approving the project and they don't even have the right-of-way established yet.
Yeah.
How it's gone.
They just are.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on into the business meeting. Thank you, John. I'm going to assign a committee for reviewing the bylaws. There are things that I want to work on. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you being here tonight. There are things within the bylaws that I would like for us to discuss. I think we want to have that committee come in on the, I think it's the 2nd of September, which is the first Thursday in the month of September, and begin looking at these bylaws in total, but also to look at things such as funding. Right now, Rmac is can only be compensated for things related to the business, i.e. transportation to Bakersfield, things of that nature. There's no other costs that are considered, as I understand it. And I want to change the language there. Of course, it has to go to the Board of Supervisors for review and approval. It's just not something we can decide on our own. But it's one of a few things that I would like to see changed, because there are many things that this council wants to do, but we just don't have the money. No, we are not compensated for our time. And while we're not expecting to be compensated for our time, any costs that we incur through the performance of our duties should be reimbursed. Okay, moving to old business. First item is the admin space and office space. We reoccupied Hummel Hall and we're here tonight. We're a little rusty at being in public, talking with everyone, so please bear with us. I know I had met you and I cannot remember your name. I thought you were Barbara Gaines when I glanced up, so I apologize.
I'm Gretchen Winfrey.
Okay, Gretchen, thank you. Who's that? I got that one. Okay.
You missed it.
Okay, Rmac goals and project status. I just want to touch on this a little bit. I carried this thing down and got rid of things that have already been completed. One of the things we talked about tonight was the Highway 14 off-ramp. John gave us a tremendous update on that. I'm still looking at this aspect of a community skateboard park. I understand that if we do build a skateboard park, it has to be at Glendower Park. That is the only place that they believe that it should be because of community demographics. So I'm going to try to follow up on that to see what all that really means. Because I'm not certain that neighbors on that street will be that crazy about a skate park, and I'm not sure Rosamond Elementary School will be crazy about a skateboard park too.
Well, that park isn't in such bad shape. I wish the county would come fix it.
I actually did a walkthrough today with county on it.
Oh, good.
So
It's
it'll be
dangerous.
I've been working on that part with the county for a while. We do have stuff ordered. Great. I mean, it's in progress. It's in progress.
How about the gophers? Gotta get those out of there, so.
The gophers, I don't even have a clue how to get rid of gophers.
Well, people are gonna, actually, people have sprained their ankles there, and I'm afraid someone's gonna get broken. Well, it used to be one of the most beautiful parks in the Antelope Valley.
It was.
It has
And we did a walkthrough and took lots of pictures. Reports have been done. I mean, reports have been being done on that park for months. So Laura Lynn can attest to it. I bug her all the time about those parks.
Well, I even went down and talked to the guys when they were doing it. They said, we don't have any money. Like, we've got to get rid of these gophers. It's just good money after that. It's like, you don't fix those gophers in those holes.
You seen the landscapers?
Yeah, the guys that come mow. I've seen
Okay.
them a couple times. When I actually talked to them. When I talk to them, I guess they're like a subcontractor or something.
Yeah,
I don't know, but.
they're an independent subcontractor to the county.
That's what they basically said, yeah, we're just here to mow the lawn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Signalized crosswalk and safety, everyone has seen, I'm sure, the crosswalk, which is right there at the Starbucks, over to the corner by the high school. That was one of the ones that Rmac was pushing for in 2018. It finally went in as part of the development with Starbucks and that little small plaza area there. We still have two other areas that we're interested in. One of them is over by Gateway Plaza, connecting that community there with a crosswalk to get across to Rosamond Plaza itself. A primary concern there is morning traffic and evening traffic coming from the base. They're traveling very fast in that area. And we have seniors that are trying to cross there in the middle of the block rather than walking all the way up to 15.
In their wheelchairs, crossing. And cars doing 85 in a 45 zone. But Edwards does nothing.
100 miles an hour in traffic per pole.
Oh.
And then the other part of that is over here at Tropico School is a traffic light. At one time I thought we could get away with just a signalized crosswalk like we have. But from what I've seen sitting out there, it needs to be a traffic light, at least during school hours. After school hours, it could probably go to just a standard flashing light, but during school hours, there needs to be something to break the speed of folks in that area.
Let me add to that. I live behind Rosamond Elementary School, and you cannot get onto Glendower. And then also, there's several little surface streets feed into Hillcrest, which is street I live on, and it's a raceway. So I wrote a letter, and I sent it to CHP, the school board, Rosamond Hills, and Tapia Brothers, and asked them all to come together to figure out what to do about that traffic over there. It's just absolutely crazy in the morning, and in the afternoon, all traffic's backed up there. So I did talk with Barbara Gaines. I went and met with her, and they don't have a solution, but it's a mess. I actually wrote to Kern County too, because their park's right next door too. But it's just a bad situation. So I just hope nobody gets run over there.
So we did discuss that as well.
Yeah.
With county. I discussed that as well with county today. We took a look at it, and we're gonna discuss it further. There's a solution. There's an easy solution for that area, actually. And I didn't even realize it until the county was with me and said, hey, why don't we? And I was like, that would work. Very easy solution. So we will be discussing that. Emails will go out tomorrow to discuss that, because there is an easy solution. I do know what you mean, because I live off United, and my sister lives on 57. I come this way all the time and it's very frustrating to get through. Very frustrating. So it's being talked about. Because, and Barbara, even Mrs. Gaines even offered easements. She's like, if we have to take some of the school to handle it, that's what we have to do. And I know that the county is more than willing to do, if we have, whatever we have to do to make it easier for Rosamond, for the community, to get their kids in and out of that school. So, we'll be working on it. Okay.
Okay, Rugby Arterial lighting, that's an ongoing project of putting in LED lights along the arterial roadways of the town. It's still ongoing. Rosamond overpass ADA repairs. Some of it has been done, some of it has not been. Part of that is associated with Caltrans and maybe tied up with this also with the rework of that intersection. Okay, Mojave Rosamond landfill signage.